Okay, I think we are live on YouTube. So Hare Krishna, all the YouTube viewers. We will now start the kirtan for next 28 minutes. Hare Krishna. Please turn on your video if you can, and please chant along as loud as possible. This is a very auspicious day. Let's chant and pray for the pleasure of Lord Nrsingadev today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for joining us. For first half an hour, we will do kirtan, and then please chant along at your home. Thank you so much for joining. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Namaste Saraswate Deve
Hare Krishna, Darpan Prabhu and Alek Prabhu for wonderful Kirtan. Thank you very much. On this auspicious occasion of Lord Narasimha's appearance day. And Maharaj here. Hare Krishna Maharaj, very happy to see you. Happy Narasimha Day for you. And then I was asked to give introduction. Of course, Maharaj doesn't need introduction for my own purification. So I'll just introduce Maharaj. Then after that, Maharaj will be doing the Kirtan, and then eventually he'll be doing lecture, followed by question answers. I was told Maharaj is a hard stop at 8:30. So based on when he stops, then how many of the questions we can accommodate, and then followed the nursing prayers, and then we'll end the program with announcements. So that's the schedule for today. And let me start. So Maharaj, we all know Giriraj Maharaj. He's initiated, and before initiating, his name was Glenn Philip Denton. So he was actually studying in the Brandon University near Boston. And then he met the devotees first time in late 1960s. And then especially he met Srila Prabhupada, founder of Srila 1969, while he was studying. And during his brief introduction with Prabhupada and devotees, Maharaj developed very sincere and serious desire for spiritual path. However, he waited till he completed his degree studies, and then he eventually joined them. Then he took up his spiritual path very seriously. And then he was being very, in short time, became a leader. And then eventually he was asked to go to India in 1972. Then ever since he went to India, then he was being doing a lot of services in the direction of Prabhupada. And then after Prabhupada left, he sannyas, and then he was the main person while Prabhupada was there for building the temple. So you all know I got my first copy today. So I will build the temple. Thank you, Maharaj. I got this today. He's also author of many other books, especially this book, I Will Build the Temple. That his personal experience, his own realizations. He gave so much of information in this book. We recommend all the devotees to get a copy. In Columbus, please see Lalita Mataji. She has the copies. Besides this, he also did many other projects. He traveled around the world, inspiring so many people. Right now, he's been based in Carpentino, California, and then he's writing the books and then inspiring the people across the globe. So without any further delay, so I'll request Maharaj, please take over from here. And then if you're not talking, please put in yourself. And also we request all the devotees, please show up your videos. Maharaj would like to see your name with your face. So if possible, if it is not an emergency, please show up your videos. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Maharaj.
I'll begin by singing the Mangala Charana prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then we will speak about Lord Nrsimhadev. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri-Rupam Sagrajatam Parijana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Caitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Savana Lavita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Sri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadha Shiva Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Chaitanya, please close the door. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Happy Narasimha Chaturdasi. I will read 2 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam about Lord Nrsimhadev. The first one will give an overview of Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance and pastimes. And the second one will explore Prahlad Maharaj's beautiful mentality. So we'll begin with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations, Text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Again, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations, Text 14. Tripista Parubayaha Sanisringarupam Kritva Brahmad Buruktitam Strakaralavaktram Daityandram Ashu Gadaya Patantam Arad Uroni Patya Vidara Nakai Spurantam Tripista Parubayaha Sanashringarupam Kritva Brahmad Brukuti Damstra Karalavaktram Daityandram Ashu Gadaya Bipatantam Arad Uru Nipatya Vidadara Nakai Spurantam. Tripistapa, the demigods. Uru Baya Ha, one who vanquishes great fears. Sa, he, the personality of Godhead. Nrsimha Rupam, assuming the incarnation of Nrsimha. Kritva, doing so. Brahmat, by rolling. Brukuti, eyebrows. Damstra, teeth. Karala, greatly fearful. Vaktram, mouth. Daitya Indram, the king of the demons. Ashu, immediately. Gadaya, with club in hand. Abhipantam, while falling down. Arat, nearby. Uro, on the thighs. Nipatya, placing on. Vidadara, pierced. Nakai, by the nails. Spurantam, while challenging. Translation. The personality of Godhead assumed the incarnation of Nrsimhadev in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand. By placing the demon on his thighs and piercing him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger, and showing his fearful teeth and mouth. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The history of Hiranyakashipu and his great devotee son Prahlad Maharaj is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hiranyakashipu became very powerful by material achievements and thought himself to be immortal by the grace of Brahmaji. Yes, Hiranyakashipu performed such severe austerities that the whole universe was disturbed. And ultimately, Lord Brahma, the chief demigod in charge of the universe, came to Hiranyakashipu to ask him to desist from performing his severe austerities, which were creating such a disturbance in the universe. But Hiranyakashipu wanted some boons from Lord Brahma. So Hiranyakashipu became very powerful by material achievements and thought himself to be immortal by the grace of Brahmaji. Brahmaji declined to award him the benediction of immortality because he himself is not an immortal being. So Lord Brahma has a very long duration of life, but he's not immortal. So he told Hiranyakashipu, I myself am not immortal, so how can I make you immortal? But Hiranyakashipu derived Brahmaji's benediction in a roundabout way, almost equal to becoming an immortal being. So these are the boons that Hiranyakashipu requested from Lord Brahma and which Lord Brahma granted. Hiranyakashipu was sure that he would not be killed by any man or demigod or by any kind of weapon, nor would he die in the day or in the night. The Lord, however, assumed the incarnation of half man and half lion, which was beyond the imagination of a materialistic demon like Hiranyakashipu. And thus, keeping pace with the benediction of Brahmaji, the Lord killed him. He killed him on his lap, so that he was killed neither on the land, nor on the water, nor in the sky. The demon was pierced by Nrsimha's nails, which were beyond the human weapons imaginable by Hiranyakashipu. The literal meaning of Hiranyakashipu is one who is after gold and soft bedding, the ultimate aim of all materialistic men. Such demonic men who have no relationship with God gradually become puffed up by material acquisitions and begin to challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord and torture those who are devotees of the Lord. So in this part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is making the point that Hiranyakashipu exemplified materialistic persons. They want gold or money, and they want soft bed for sensual enjoyment. And they become proud of their acquired power and wealth, and they harass devotees, or torture devotees. So such demonic men who have no relationship with God gradually become puffed up by material acquisitions and begin to challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord and torture those who are devotees of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj happened to be the son of Hiranyakashipu, and because the boy was a great devotee, his father tortured him to the best of his ability. In this extreme situation, the Lord assumed the incarnation of Nrsimhadev just to finish the enemy of the demigods. And the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu in a manner beyond the demon's imagination. Materialistic plans of godless demons are always frustrated by the all-powerful Lord. So Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance was extraordinary because he kept intact all of Lord Brahma's boons to Hiranyakashipu, that he would not be killed in the day or night. So he was killed at twilight, at dusk, which is neither day nor night. Hiranyakashipu was given the boon that he would not be killed inside or outside, indoors or outdoors. And so Lord Nrsimhadev killed him just on the threshold of the palace, not really inside and not really outside. And he was given the boon that he would not be killed by any man or demigod or animal. And Lord Nrsimhadev was none of those. He was a unique form, half man and half lion. And so all these different boons that Hiranyakashipu obtained from Lord Brahma in his attempt to become immortal were fulfilled by Lord Nrsimhadev. He kept all the boons intact, and still he killed the great demon, Hiranyakashipu. Now, I will read from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I spoke on this in Columbus once. This is Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text 12. Sayad anuvrata pumsam pashu buddhir vibidyate anya esha tatanyoham iti beda gatasati sayadanuvrata pumsam pashu buddhir vibidyate anya esha tatanyoham iti beda gatasati sa that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yada, when, Anuvrita, favorable or pleased, Pumsam, of the conditioned souls, Pashubuddhi, the animalistic conception of life. I am the Supreme and everyone is God. Vibidyate is destroyed. Anya, another. Esha, this. Tata, as well as. Anya, another. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Veda, distinction. Gata, having. Asati, which is disastrous. Translation. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and demoniac father asked him how his intelligence had been polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, as far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord, Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. So Hiranyakashipu had entrusted his son, Prahlad, to be taught by Sananda and Amarka, who were two sons of Shukracharya, who is the guru of the demons. And when Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad what was the best thing he had learned from his teachers, instead of answering what his father would have liked to have heard, he replied, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Hiranyakashipu's mortal enemy. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. The 9 processes of devotional service, Navavidi Bhakti. So when Hiranyakashipu heard this answer, he became furious at Prahlad's teachers because he blamed them for Prahlad's deviant mentality. So he called for the teachers and interrogated them. How have you allowed this to happen? And they said, we haven't allowed it. He said, well, you are allowing Vaishnavas in disguise to enter the school. He said, no, we are not. Then Hiranyakashipu said, well, then how has he become Krishna conscious? And the teacher said, we don't know. You better ask him. So Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad, and Prahlad replied with 3 very beautiful and important verses. Nate vidu svarthagatim hi Vishnu. Maybe I'll read them because they're very significant. Yes. So Prahlad replied. This is in response to the question of how he became Krishna conscious. So he replied in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-30, Matirna Krishna Parata Svatova Mito Vipadyeta Graha Vratanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Puna Punascharvita Charvananam. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to material life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. That's punas charvita charvanana. If you chew something and get all the juice out of it, and then if you chew it again, what will you get? There's nothing, there's no juice left. It's just chewing the chew. There's nothing really there. But still, materialistic people, they try to enjoy the same thing again and again in different forms, but they do not get any real happiness. So, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations towards Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. So this is a very intriguing answer. How did you become Krishna conscious? So Prahlad says that one cannot become Krishna conscious by his own efforts, or by the efforts of others, or by the combined efforts of oneself and others. So it seems that all the logical possibilities have been excluded. So how do you become Krishna conscious? Text 7:5-31. Nate vidusvarthagatim hi vishnum durashayaye bahir arthamanina andayatandir upaniyamanas te pishatantram urudam nibadha. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. They don't understand that that's the goal of life, and that's their real interest. As blind men, guided by another blind man, miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men are led by another materially attached man, are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords. And they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. And now Prahlad comes to the point of how one can become Krishna conscious. Naisham matista vaduru kramangrim Sprishatyanartha pagamo yadartha Mahiyashan padarajo bhishekam Niskinchananam nabranityavat. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely free from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in this way can one be freed from material contamination. So in effect, Prahlad was telling his father that you don't need to worry about becoming Krishna conscious because you're too proud. You'll never bow down to the lotus feet of a pure devotee. So you don't have to worry about becoming Krishna conscious, but that is the only way to smear upon one's body the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee. So this is the some of the background. So now we come to this verse, 7:5:12, and I read the translation and the first two sentences of the purport. Now I'll continue. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna, but under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. So Hiranyakashipu was a great politician, and the basic conception in politics is friends and enemies. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. This statement reminds me of something my dear godbrother Burijan Prabhu said about the psychology of conditioned souls. Although they may not say it openly, but their mentality is this. Everyone is walking around with this idea. Excuse me, I have a very important announcement to make. I am the center of the universe, and everyone should support me in my desires. Burijan Prabhu also said that people generally go through life as if it were a movie or a drama in which they are the hero or heroine, and they think everyone else is the supporting cast who is meant to support them in their heroic adventures. So you can imagine how much conflict arises, because I'm thinking, I'm the hero of this movie. You're meant to support me. And the other person is thinking, no, I'm the hero of the movie. You're meant to support me. And like this, everyone is thinking they're the center of the universe or they're the hero of the drama. And everyone should support them and obey them. So yes, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Like if you support me, you're my friend, and if you don't support me, you're my enemy. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God, and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master. For then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. Demons think of everyone as a friend or enemy, but Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnav treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8,400,000 species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. The Ishopanishad advises, ekatvam anupasyataha. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart and should see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. What a beautiful vision that is. This vision is called ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also ekatvam. Thus, the conception of ekatvam for the Vaishnava is different from that of the Mayavadi. So, oneness, we want oneness and the Mayavadis want oneness, but our conception of oneness and the Mayavadis' conception of oneness are completely different. We want oneness in the sense of we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, and we are one with the Supreme Lord in that we and the Supreme Lord are both spiritual, but we are different because the Lord is the master and we are the servants. This is what Srila Prabhupada calls the sublime philosophy of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Veda Ved Tattva, inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference. We are one in quality. We're spiritual, but we're different in quantity. As Srila Prabhupada says, that God is infinite. We have the same qualities, but God is infinite and we are infinitesimal, or as we would say, infinitesimal. So there has to be oneness. If there's no oneness, there can be no possibility of a relationship. Unless there's something common between two people, there cannot be any relationship. So there is something common. We're spiritual. God is spiritual and we're spiritual. But because God is greater and we are small, the relationship is that He is the master and we are the servants. And that's fine. That's good. That's our natural position. Jive Sarupai Krishna and Nityadas, eternal servants of Krishna. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally become inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. So yes, Hiranyakashipu had a brother named Hiranyaksha, another demon, who was killed by Vishnu in the form of Varahadev. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that, if someone murders a family member, as Vishnu killed Hiranyakashipu's brother Hiranyaksha, one would naturally become inimical to that murderer. But Prahlad, to the contrary, was favorable to Vishnu. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore he asked, "Who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way." Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Sa Yadanuvrata. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyat Mamam Shantam Richati. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, as Hiranyakashipu did, if one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is pashubuddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks, I am different from my enemy, and my enemy is different from me. This enemy has done this, and therefore my duty is to kill him. This misconception is described in this verse as Veda Gatasati, disastrous. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Caitanya Charitamrita by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Jiver Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. As servants of the Lord, we are one, and there can be no question of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that every one of us is a servant of the Lord, then where is the question of enemy or friend? And this last paragraph is so wonderful as a guide to devotees how to relate with one another. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. I'll repeat that. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. That is the way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service, But in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. But Srila Prabhupada has explained the difference between transcendental competition and material competition, which involves envy. In transcendental competition, the devotee accepts the good qualities or the good service of the other devotee in serving and pleasing Krishna, but he wants to excel the other devotee in good qualities or in nice service, to give Krishna more pleasure. In other words, there's a recognition of the good qualities and service of the other. Whereas in mundane competition, where there's envy, the one does not recognize the good service or the good qualities of the other. And if someone praises the other, then, the one will say, oh, I don't think he's all that good. I know more about him than you do, and I can tell you a lot about him, and he's not all that good. So that's envy. We try to put ourselves up by pulling someone down. Whereas in transcendental competition, we see that the other person is up, and we want to push them higher. And by doing so, we go higher ourselves. So there may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants and performing service. But in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannibishto matasmitirgyanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service life after life and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satakirtanam bhajatam pritipurvakam jadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend. And everyone is working under different dictations from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality. So this is another application of Achintya Bheda Tattva, that we are all one as servants of the Lord, but we're different because we're all individuals And we have our individual ways of serving the Lord and giving pleasure to the Lord. And that variegatedness amongst the servants gives more pleasure to the Lord. Just like a bouquet of flowers that has different kinds of flowers, or a vase of flowers is very attractive. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me on the auspicious occasion of Narasimha Chaturdasi and giving me the opportunity to remember Hiranyakashipu also, and Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev. So now we can take questions and comments. So if you have any question or comment, raise your hand. Oh, I see Preeti Radhika raised her hand.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I wanted to know what is the significance of Narasimha Kavach, because I have seen many devotees wear like in necklace,
Yeah.
they will have Narasimha Kavach. So what is significance? How does it protect? And should we wear it? Like all of us should wear it?
No, I mean, yes, I mean, it can give protection for sure, but it's not required that everyone should do it. I mean, Srila Prabhupada didn't do it. So I think it's really an individual matter. Some devotees may want to do so, and it's certainly fine if they do. But not everyone will. And you don't have to.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I mean, Lord Nrsimhadev is there. Every day we sing Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yamin Tato Nrsimha. Nrsimhadev is here, Nrsimhadev is there. Wherever I go, there is Nrsimhadev. I hear Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha. He is outside and he is within my heart as well. Nrsimha Madhyam Sharanam Prapadya. I surrender to Lord Nrsimhadev, who is the origin and shelter. So he's everywhere.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna devotees, if you want to ask a question, either you can type question or you can unmute yourself or raise your question by putting the raise button.
I see 5 hands up.
Okay.
So I don't want to be partial. I don't want to create friends or enemies. So we'll let the organizer of the program decide who will speak first.
So the hands I can see are in the order they raised. So Ram Tirtha Prabhu can go first.
Thank you, Alec Prabhu. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your wonderful association today. Maharaj, from this purport, there are 2 points that I was thinking. The purport mentions that attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. So, but Lord always wants everybody, all the conditioned living entities, to go back to him. So from that perspective, Lord is always favorable for people to go back to him, right? So I could not understand that statement. Could you please elaborate on that, Maharaj? And the second point is, in the same purport, it is mentioned, Prabhupada mentions that Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service, life after life, and are punished by the laws of nature. So that statement also indicates that the non-devotees are, life after life, they are punished by the laws of nature. So then how do they come out of that cycle? If the Lord is dictating those living entities in that way, so how do they come out of that cycle?
Well, they come out of the cycle by the mercy of a devotee. Exactly what we read. Naishamiti Stavaduru Kramangri, Sprishartyanartha Pagamo Yadartha. So they can come out of the cycle by the mercy of the devotee. And when the devotee is merciful, then the Lord will be merciful. The Lord's mercy follows the mercy of the devotee. And as far as the Lord being favorable or not, as the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatamam prapadyante, as people approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. So if someone, although internally the Lord is favorable to everyone, but if someone approaches the Lord in a defiant way, in a challenging way, in an inimical way, then the Lord will reciprocate and not give that person, not be favorable to that person in the same way that he's favorable to someone who's favorable to the Lord, which is natural. It's natural.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna can go next.
Hare Krishna. Giriraj Swami, regarding the question by Mother Priti Radhika about the Narasimha Kavach, I heard a class today by Bhakti Caitanya Swami, and he was saying, somebody asked a question about how in Krishna's pastimes different demons are killed, and those demons represent different anarthas. And so he read something else. Somebody asked, what does the killing of like this demon represent? And he read from Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada writes that this is actually, we're trying to kill our material desires. Actually, that's what's the real demon. And like some devotees pray to Lord Narasimha, therefore protection, like from help and different things. But the real disease or danger is material desires. So he mentioned that point in the class today. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's good. That's good. There's a nice prayer by Prahlad in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which he prays to Lord Narasimha, please vanquish the demon-like desires for fruitive activities in my heart. Yes, very good. So I see 3 more hands.
Yeah, next is Siddhilal Samapati.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My question is about parents who complain that their children are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And like we say that we heard from Prahlad Maharaj, who says even by the advice of others, people can't take to Krishna consciousness. But the parents, they are themselves initiated devotees. They have received the mercy of Guru, and their children are also in touch with Guru. So how do we explain this?
Now, what's the question?
Yes, so the question is that the parents, they complain that the children are not taken to Krishna consciousness.
Oh, they complain that their children are not taking to Krishna consciousness.
Yes. And they are in touch with gurus, but they themselves, they are devotees, and in touch with advanced devotees, they're getting so much mercy. So how do we explain that the children are not able to take the mercy that they're receiving?
Well, we are all individuals and we have free will. So we can take to Krishna consciousness or not take to Krishna consciousness. Yes, His Holiness Srila Chaturdasi Swami says that, children may be born in the Hare Krishna movement, but they still have to decide to join the Hare Krishna movement. And that, to an extent, depends on us, how we attract them to want to join, although they're already born in it. So I'm not sure I answered your question. I'm not sure exactly what the question was, but that was my thought on hearing about the situation you described. I mean, yeah, the mercy is there, but you have to take it. That's your choice if you take it or not. And why do some take it and some not? That's their free will. But we should try, to induce them to take it, of course, naturally. But they may or may not. Do you have more on this topic?
No.
Okay. Next, Rukmini Mataji.
Pranams, Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. So I had started reading your book, although I haven't finished it. And of course, I had read a bit in the Prabhupada Lilamrita. So there's a lot in this book about the saga of Mr. Nair. And I had read it, about the point where he had actually somehow gotten people to come and demolish the temple of Radha Krishna that had been erected on the land, and they actually demolished a large part of it, although they didn't get the deity room. So in this purport, we're being asked to consider everyone as the servant of the Lord and not to consider anyone as friends and enemies. This person certainly seems like an enemy. And I don't remember, I think you said that at some point Prabhupada said that everyone would go back to Godhead, but Mr. Nair could stay here. So could you give some perspective about what does it really mean to see everyone as servant of the Lord and not to see any friends and enemies?
Yeah, well, everyone by nature is a servant of the Lord. Jiva Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. But some people are acting inimically towards the Lord. And we, as servants of the Lord, cannot, what to say, we can't be friends of an enemy of the Lord. They're not our enemies in a personal sense, but because they're inimical to the Lord, and we are servants of the Lord, or devotees of the Lord, we can't really be friends with them. So Mr. Nair is very interesting because once the verse was like that, the Bhagavatam verse was like that. It was about demons in LA. And it just led into my discussing the history of Hare Krishna land. And during the course of the talk, I referred to Mr. Nair and some of his accomplices as demons. And after the class, my dear godbrother, His Grace Virabahu Prabhu, he approached me and said that he doesn't usually like it when devotees call people demons. But after hearing this, I have to agree they actually were demons. So, Yeah. And, you know, speaking about Lord Nrsingadev, Srila Prabhupada commented, or he wrote a letter that Lord Nrsingadev had killed the demon Nair. And he even said that he had prayed for it. Prabhupada had prayed for it. Of course, maybe I shouldn't have said that because that's like quite confidential. You know, someone might think that's odd, but anyway, he was causing, Prabhupada said he was causing too much trouble to the deities and to the devotees. So, yeah. And there was another, very nice statement by Prahlad Maharaj came into this story. So on a Sunday, I was walking, I was out preaching near Dobi Talao in Bombay, near Metro Cinema. And they're like vendors who sell magazines and newspapers on the sidewalk. And I wouldn't usually pay much attention, but that day I happened to look down and I saw this headline across the Bharat Jyoti, which was the Sunday edition of the Free Press Journal, where Nair was the editor. And it said, A.B. Nair dead. And, I felt jubilant. I felt like dancing in the street. But then I checked myself and I thought, I'm supposed to be a sadhu. I'm supposed to be developing saintly qualities. Is this an appropriate way to respond when I hear that someone has died? Anyway, we thought this was a very important event to report to Srila Prabhupada, who was in New Zealand. And at that time, Prabhupada's disciple Bali Mardan Das was visiting Bombay, and he was more senior, and he had, in a way, more experience with Srila Prabhupada, in a way. And so he phoned Srila Prabhupada. And so Prabhupada had Shrutikirti Prabhu take the call. And he reported to Srila Prabhupada that, it's Bali Mardan, and he says that Nair is dead. And then Prabhupada folded his palms over his head and he said, "Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna." I was praying for this. And then, but still, I was wondering about my reaction, whether it was appropriate or not to feel happy. And then Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to a few of us, his supporters in Bombay, saying that, I've received one telephonic message today that Nair is dead. And if that's the case, it's a great occasion for rejoicing. And he quoted Prahlad Maharaj, that even a saintly person takes pleasure when a snake or a scorpion is killed. And he said Nair was a big snake. So it was not inappropriate to feel happy. And that line of Prahlad Maharaj's, even a saintly person takes pleasure when a snake or a scorpion is killed, is very significant. Srila Prabhupada recounted an incident when he was visiting his Guru Maharaj in Mayapur. And his Guru Maharaj came out on the balcony, and he saw that there was a snake in the garden. And he ordered his disciples to kill the snake. And our Srila Prabhupada was very surprised, because devotees, we don't kill even an insect. But then later, Srila Prabhupada came across that line from Prahlad Maharaj, that even a saintly person takes pleasure when a snake or a scorpion is killed. And then he said, yeah, oh yes, what Guru Maharaj ordered was correct.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, is 8:30. Would you like to take a few more, or how's the time for you, Maharaj?
Fine, I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay. So Sumitra Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I have a question which is more about how do we reconcile two seemingly apparent contradictions. One is lately we get a lot of emails about reciting Narasimha Kavacha for seeking protection. On the other hand, there's Tattenu Kampam Susamikshamanam verse and several purports in Mukundamala Stotra by Prabhupada imploring the devotee, the Lord who takes care of every living entity, will he not take care of the servant of the Lord? And whatever happens to me is a result of my past karma. I'm not going to ask you for anything, for protection or anything. So is one way to reconcile these two is to say, for my own personal protection, I'm not going to ask the Lord. He can do whatever he wants. And but for others' protection, I will recite the Narasimha Kavacha. So how do we think about this?
Well, it depends on your perspective. If you think of yourself as the body, then you shouldn't pray for protection. But if you think of yourself as a servant of Krishna, then you can. I mean, those two are apparently contradictory responses were shown by Srila Prabhupada. It was during the 1971 war between India and Pakistan, and we were in Delhi with Srila Prabhupada, and someone asked something like about Yahya Khan dropping a bomb, and what would you think? And Srila Prabhupada said, well, I would think that Krishna wants to kill me in the form of this bomb dropped by Yahya Khan. But then around the same time, someone asked him, if someone were to attack you, would you defend yourself? And he said, yes, why should I let someone harm Krishna's servant? So, yeah, if we see ourselves as Krishna's servants, which we are, then we can pray for protection for our service, not protection of our body in and of itself, but protection of our service, in which the body is an instrument, which the body serves as an instrument. So yeah, like Prabhupada said, why should I let some rascal harm Krishna?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna devotees, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. We'll appreciate it. Next is Sadhu Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association on this auspicious day. So my question is related to, like, Prahlad Maharaj was a very, very great devotee, but even though his father is not favorable for his Krishna consciousness, but he was being delivered because Prahlad Maharaj purity and devotional service with the Lord. But in our cases, like neophyte like me, if suppose the parents are not favorable or like making like kind of offensive, like subtle or even gross, what kind of implication they may have it, or like what is our responsibility to convey that this is the correct one and they should not offended and all the things, and will they incur any sins for these kind of things if the somebody parents are opposing to the kids who was practicing the devotional service, because they may not understand what the way they brought up with is totally different. And can you please give some lights on this, Maharaj?
Yeah. I would also reiterate that who's ever not speaking should be muted because there's some noises. I don't know.
Yeah, Alak Prabhu, can you mute everybody except Mark?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm doing that.
Okay. So yeah, it's the situation you described is mixed because you're talking about parents who are opposing their children's Krishna consciousness. So their opposition to their children's Krishna consciousness is not good for them. But their child becoming Krishna conscious is good for them. And the benefit of the Krishna conscious child will outweigh the reactions to their offensive talks or behavior. In fact, just today, I shared with someone a conversation that Srila Prabhupada had about the benefit that parents get from having devotee children, you know. And I will read that because it's very relevant. This is a room conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Wax, the writer and editing manager of Playboy magazine, which was published in Chicago. This conversation took place in Chicago. One might think it was an unlikely couple to visit Srila Prabhupada, but they did. So this was on July 5th, 1975. So devotee one, we are giving these books to so many common men. Then the books will attract them to perhaps chanting and following the regulative principles. Prabhupada, yes, if they read, even if they touch. That is the difference between this book and ordinary book. Even they touch and they read one line and he says, oh, this is very nice. He makes a step forward. If he simply says, oh, it is very nice, that is sufficient to bring him. Therefore, I am trying to push the book distribution. He has paid some money. He will then say, what these nonsense have written, let me see. And if he sees and says, oh, it is very nice, then the beginning is immediate. Therefore, we are trying to push, at least let him say it is very nice. Kartikeya's mother, this is Prabhupada's continuing to speak. Kartikeya's mother, practical experience. Kartikeya, when he used to go to see his mother, she used to go out. The same mother gradually, in the association of her son, became Krishna conscious. So at the time of her death, she asked Kartikeya, "Is your Krishna here?" And she died immediately. This is the effect. Antakale, she remembered Krishna. So her life was successful. She inquired, "Is your Krishna here?" And immediately thereafter died. So she got the benefit of her son's Krishna consciousness. You can ask Kartikeya also. She said that. Jaitirtha, yes, he told me that story. Prabhupada, yes. So all the mothers of my disciples, they will get salvation because she has got nice son. Jaitirtha, all the mothers will get salvation? Prabhupada, oh yes. Mrs. Vex, oh, good. Devotee 2, what about the fathers? Prabhupada, fathers also, both the father and the mother, because they are father and mother of a Vaishnava devotee, so they will be taken special care. You'll find from Prahlad Maharaj's description, even a father like Hiranyakashipu got salvation because Prahlad was his son. Devotee 3. Srila Prabhupada, it seems strange that so many parents are engaged in meeting and illicit sex and intoxication and gambling could have a son who would become a Vaishnava. Prabhupada. Therefore, they will get the advantage. Somehow or other, they have produced a son, Vaishnava. So the son's activities will react upon the life of the parents. Because naturally the sons think of the father and mother, that is beneficial for them. However one may be renounced, he cannot get rid of family affection. That is natural. So the Vaishnava son sometimes thinks of the father and mother, so they are getting the benefit. Isn't that nice?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Maharaj. There's one last question that nobody else has said. I want to ask you a question, Maharaj. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Well, yeah, I'll come. We're almost finished here. I'll come at 6, which was the announced time. So Naveen Krishna Prabhu, your hand is up.
Yes, Maharaj. You have time. Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture and association, Maharaj. So we all heard in Prahlad Maharaj's life story, when he was in the womb, his mother, Kayadu, was well taken care by Narada Muni's ashram. Narada Muni was there till her husband come back, which is almost, in some places, 100,000 years or 1,000 celestial years, which is a long time. But at the same time, Srimad Bhagavatam also says Narada Muni was cursed by Daksha, he cannot stay in one place.
Sorry?
Narada Muni was cursed by Daksha Prajapati that he cannot stay in one place. Because of when he was preaching his sons, like, many brahmacharis, one after one, he cursed him. So this 100,000 years, which is a long time, he stayed in one place in ashram, taking care of mother and son, teaching Srimad Bhagavatam. So how do we reconcile this matter?
Well, I mean, she was given shelter at his ashram, and he did preach to her, which Prahlad heard in the womb. But it doesn't mean that he didn't leave. Like I have my ashram and I come and go, but the ashram remains and people can stay here even when I'm not here. So I don't think it's necessary that Narada Muni was there continuously at the ashram during that whole period. He could have gone and come back.
Thank you. That was my question.
Okay, it's a good question. Now, Ayushi.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I have a question. Like at many places, like Srila Prabhupada told that if we want to make progress in spiritual life, then we have to stop taking association of non-devotees. But like you told today that we have to see, we don't have to see others as our friends or enemies. We should see Krishna situated in everybody's heart. But in provoking situation, for example, let's say there is a woman and she's a devotee, and her husband is a non-devotee, and he has an association of non-devotees. So Prabhupada also says that a wife should be chaste wife, and when that wife uh, uh, takes association of those non-devotees with her husband, then she may tend to become envious of those persons because of their principles, which are not very ideal, and Srila Prabhupada told us not to follow that. So how should we see Krishna in their hearts also in those provoking situations when we take their association and our hearts become filled with envy?
Well, I don't know why your heart should become filled with envy. I mean, if you're practicing Krishna consciousness properly, then you'll feel satisfied and you won't envy the materialists. Rather, you'll feel compassion for them that they're not able to relish the happiness of devotional service. But if you envy them, if you envy their material opulence or their sense gratificatory processes, then you really should avoid associating with them. But you're saying you have no choice because your husband associates with them. But it's not good for you to associate with them. But if you have to associate with them, then you should counterbalance that with very strong association with devotees so that you can improve spiritually and become stronger and not feel, envious of them for their opulence or so-called enjoyment.
Yeah, I'll not say sometimes it's envy only, but sometimes like I had a discussion with one of his friends, and they were saying that who told you that you read Bhagavad Gita according to Pandavas, Krishna's inclination towards Pandavas, but we have our own version wherein you never have heard of Kauravas also. You never have heard that Kauravas were also innocent. So I was not in that discussion. I even didn't want to be a part of that discussion because I'm because Guru Maharaj, I'm not a person who is like very verbal and who will just speak continuously for hours and hours. But some people, like, they have good oratory skills, so they will try to use some convincing skills to convince the other person that you're not reading a good thing or that. So that makes my heart sometimes very agitated, that why they are using such words for Pandavas and Krishna, and they are taking side of people who were adharmis and who were not actually following any religious principles. So it happens sometimes. So in that provoking situations, I don't know how to fix up my vision in seeing them also, Krishna situated in their heart also. I mean, I forget this vision. I mean, I feel that I cannot see Krishna inside their hearts, why they are speaking such things.
Yeah, I would suggest that you don't speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you should quietly chant japa. I think of this because after Srila Prabhupada left, I was meeting people, to get, I guess, doing research to get information about Srila Prabhupada. So in Delhi, I met one man named D.P. Gupta, who was, he had a nice place. He had a very good estate, and he accommodated Srila Prabhupada there. This was before Srila Prabhupada went to America. So he had a nice estate, but he was sort of a Mayavadi, and he is a bit proud. And as he told me, he used to say to Srila Prabhupada, you are Bhakti and I am Vedanta. And he would give his theories to Srila Prabhupada. And he said that whenever he was speaking to Srila Prabhupada always had his hand in his bead bag. And he's always going like, so it's like he wasn't really listening to that man's nonsense. He was he was chanting japa. So I think that's what you should do in these cases, because you're not going to be able to convince them, and you won't be able to avoid them because they're your husband's friends and you have to accompany your husband. So I think just tune out. Tune out. Don't waste your time arguing with them. Don't create a situation where they create more offenses by speaking nonsense to you to try to convince you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj, there's one more person, devotees, raise the question. Malati Mataji.
Yes.
Right.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All yours to Srila Prabhupada, all yours to your divine friends. Thank you for your wonderful class, Guru Maharaj. I just want to extend the question of Her Grace Siddhi Lalita Mataji about children becoming devotees when the parents are initiated. So on one hand, Guru Maharaj, we see that it's written in the purport that it's not the effort of yourself nor the effort of others, nor the combined effort that one becomes a devotee. But parents are the best well-wishers of the children. They are always in anxiety, especially devotees, mothers, and who really want their children to become devotees ahead. And we give the best of we say best of mercy, whatever we get in prasadam or pure devotees mercy, we just extend it to the children. But on the other side, we see that if there is no effort of any one of them, but we say that parents are responsible for the child's devotion, otherwise you shouldn't become parents. So it is a bit this that please Maharaj clear this point.
Yes. Well, we had some devotees visiting my ashram in Carpinteria a few years ago, and the children of devotee parents, in this case, were also devotees. So we asked the children how it was that they became devotees. And they all said that their parents didn't force them. And they're very happy that their parents didn't force them. But their parents did everything that good devotees do. And so they were influenced. And the general advice I give to devotees dealing with family members is that they should be happy and they should treat the other family members very nicely. And when the other family members see, oh, this person is happy from Krishna consciousness and this person is behaving very nicely, they'll become favorable to Krishna consciousness. Yeah, and one of the couples who visited, my godbrother Shesha Prabhu, and both of his daughters are devotees. I think they're both initiated now. And he said the same thing as a parent, that he never forced the children, but he did everything. You know, he invited Vaishnavas home, you know, he served them, he went to the temple programs, he did everything, but he never forced them. So, yeah, it is your responsibility. It's true, you know, Guru Nasasya, Pita Nasasya. But you have to be intelligent how to fulfill that responsibility. Especially in Kali Yuga, there's so many other influences on the children that we have to contend with. Yeah. And another thing, I don't know if this is really good advice, but another thing, I noticed some families, the parents were devotees and the children were like devotees. They're like devotees. And the parents would do some things with the children that were not directly Krishna conscious. But of course, this was in America. You know, I don't know how it would work in India, but, and their thinking was that the children are going to be curious. They are going to want to experience these things. Say, whatever, a movie, just to do, you know. But so it's better that the parents do it with them, because the parents can give a Krishna conscious perspective on it. And the children also won't think they have to sneak out and do it without their parents' knowledge. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but it you know, it can be done. There's so many excellent examples of devotee parents whose children have become devotees, and we can learn from their example how they were successful. But the general pattern is that they did everything as good devotees, but they didn't force their children.
Yes, Gurmaharaj, that's so true actually. I sometimes do that, seeing a movie with children, because then we can, they will not hide anything from us. They will be very open and they can speak to us afterwards, like if ever in life they have some challenges. So that is very true. And actually, I could understand from your this that I can do the needful, whatever the circumstances are at my place, whatever I can do, because you know, one side they have been learning about demigods from my husband, and then here I am showing the other perspective. Now it's their choice. What do they choose? Actually, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Please pray for my children, Guru Maharaj. I just need your prayers. I know prayers are the most potent, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's a 9 p.m. here, which is a 6 p.m. there. So I see one more person, a devotee, raised the hand. Radha Charan Prabhu, would you like to take it, or we should end it? So it's your call.
I'm okay. It's only 6 here. But
Okay.
it's true, I will have to leave soon because we're having our own program. But we can
Go
take
ahead.
we can
Radha
take.
Go ahead, Radha
Yes.
Charan Prabhu.
Yeah. Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. And we understand what you told about the children, that we should remain a happy devotee and behave nicely. That is perfectly all right. At the same time, in our case, our son is an initiated devotee now, but our daughter is not taking that much seriously Krishna consciousness. So should we understand this? We can try our best, but if somebody is not able to take up for whatever reason, we should not feel depressed. On what more we can do, Guru Maharaj? It is not within our control. And we have committed some mistakes in the past. Now we are improving, correcting those things to behave such a way so that she can become more positive and take to Krishna consciousness gradually. Any other guidance about this, Guru Maharaj?
Yeah, well, it's good to be introspective in what way we could have done better and try to improve, better late than never. As far as feeling depressed about it, it would really depend on the reason why you're depressed or discouraged. If you're depressed because of your false ego, that's not very good. But if you're depressed out of genuine compassion for your daughter and a sincere desire to see that she's happy in Krishna consciousness, then that feeling that's okay. That's okay. But if it's just your false ego that you're a failure, then that's I wouldn't suggest dwelling on that.
Yeah, that's what I am asking you, that we are not feeling depressed for that reason, because we have committed mistakes in past. Now we are improving those things and engaging her in some small things, and she's taking little interest also. So we are doing our thing, but this is not within our control. So we are doing whatever we can do, and we are doing other practices and our preaching regularly, not getting affected by those things.
Good.
So what more can we do?
Sounds just right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please bless us so that we can just make it much better. Thank you.
Yes, I'll pray for you.
Thank you.
Good prasad is also a very important factor. Having good prasad at home. Yeah. I could elaborate on it, but it's getting late. But having good prasad it can be an important factor in the children's Krishna consciousness, how favorable they are.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think we have some announcements to make. Edu Chandra Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your association, and we look forward to have your association pretty soon in the near future. We have a couple of announcements for today's festival. I'd like to thank the festival coordinators Ramesh Prabhu and Naveen Krishna Prabhu, who have organized this festival very well. Thanks to both of them. And nice decorations are done by Sita Sundari Mataji and Moini Kishori Mataji. And Bhargavi Mataji has helped for the garlands and vases. Thanks to all of them as well. And DT dressing, Ramdev Prabhu, Lalita Mataji and Brother Bhakti Mataji have done a wonderful job. And you probably might have seen the darshan of the deities, or most of you have seen in the temple today as well. Thanks to all three of them. And Prashadam, thanks to all the cooks, Kamagiri Mataji and Nitya Chand Prabhu. They've done a wonderful job in preparing nice Prashadam for all our devotees. With their grace, we were able to distribute about 200 lunch Prashadam boxes for ISKCON Columbus devotees. Thank you for all the efforts. And Kamagiri Mataji was helped by Dheera, her granddaughter, and for the vegetable cut up yesterday, so we had a couple of devotees come to the temple and spend some time to help do this service. Special thanks to Alek Prabhu, Vaibhav Prabhu, Ridhima Mataji, and Gurudayal Prabhu and Naveen Krishna Prabhu for doing this service. And finally, we have some sponsors for this festival: Rameshwar Chaudhary Prabhu, Bhavani, Gopal Krishnan Mataji, Mitabai Prabhu, Yashoda and Anand Reddy family, Chandraban Prabhu and family, Rumadatta Mataji and family, Narahari Prabhu and Parikshit Prabhu and family. So we had good sponsors for having this festival make it successful. And finally, Chanakya Prabhu and Mona Mataji helped in packing the prasadam for all the devotees, and also cleaning up the pots and everything at the temple and making it clean. Thank you all so much. And I would like to take this moment to thank everybody for attending this call, and especially Maharaj for giving your association. And we would like to have your association pretty soon as well. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
And of course, humbly, Edhuchandra Prabhu did not mention his name. He was also part of the festival coordination, helping, cleaning, distributing those 200 boxes. He was one among them, packing them. Thank you, Edhuchandra Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, devotees. I think, I don't know whether, as per the schedule, we also have a Lord Narasimha Dev prayers to end. So, Maharaj, would you like to sing the prayer to end the?
Yeah.
Please go ahead. I'd like to hear from you.
One moment. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashipu Raksha. Hiranyakashipu Raksha. Shilatankana Kalaye. Ito nishinga parato nishingo. Ito nishinga parato nishingo. Yato yami tato nishinga. Yato yami tato nishinga. Maye nishingo hridaye nishingo. Maye nishingo hridaye nishingo. Nishingam madhyam sharanam prapadye. Nishingam madhyam sharanam prapadye. Can you send them for the kirtan? Tavakara kamalavare nakam. Adhuta Shinga Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara kamalavare nakamadhuta shinga Dalita hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara kamalavare nakamadhuta shinga Dhanita hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Vishnu Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki. Thank you very much, Maharaj and the devotees. So one more final reminder about the book. I will build you the temple for Maharaj. The books are out there. It's available again on the website, my Juhu. What is the website name? It's my Juhu. Sorry. Yeah. It's also available at www.thejuhu.com. In local Columbus, Lalita Mataji has the list. If you want to see, if you want to buy, please reach out to her. For non-local devotees, they can get it from their own centers or the website. Please get a copy. Thank you very much. So we will end the program now with the Vaishnava prayers for all of us. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.
So much for the class. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
My pleasure.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Ram,
Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the association.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
So let's give a big Hari Bol to His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bhagavan ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. So now we'll end the chat. I mean, Zoom session.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.